This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Cureleaf, one of the nation's top multi-state cannabis operators with 49 local dispensaries, 14 cultivation sites, and 13 processing facilities, serving up more than 165,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Check them out over at cureleaf.com, spelled Curaleaf. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, November 15th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 841 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We have some good news out of Oregon to lead off the end of our news week, as the Oregon Court of Appeals ruled in two separate cases yesterday that Governor Kate Brown's bans on the sale of nicotine and cannabis vaporizers are not valid. The court extended a previously enacted stay on the ban of nicotine vaporizers from last month, which leaves vaporizer stores free to continue sales. While in another ruling, the court found that the ban on cannabis vaporizers would cause irreparable harm to legal cannabis vaporizer companies. Lawyers for the Oregon Liquor Control Commission try to argue that the public would be harmed even more if vaporizer sales were allowed, but judges shot that down by pointing out the lack of any kind of connection between health problems and legal marijuana vaporizers. You can open up Oregon Live for more here. As we always do, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. We have a big financial report grabbing our second headline of the day, with Canadian giant Canopy Growth announcing numbers for its fiscal second quarter ending September 30th. The big number on this is Canopy's $374.6 million Canadian loss, or $282.7 million US, up from the same quarter last year when it lost $330.6 million Canadian. Canopy still has around $2.7 billion in cash and cash equivalents, but does expect to keep losing money into the near future, blaming a slower than anticipated rollout of the Canadian markets, Ontario in particular, among other factors. As Canopy is the biggest company in our space by a bit, it's good to track how it's doing. Not a bad story to read in full. Pennsylvania just dropped some numbers for how its legal medical marijuana industry has been doing in the last 2 years or so that it's been in operations. Pennsylvania's medical marijuana dispensaries opened up back in February of 2018 and since then have sold more than $500 million in medical cannabis. There are 72 dispensaries up and running in the Keystone State with around 147,000 registered medical patients. Altogether, Pennsylvania dispensaries see an average of 65,000 patients per week, with average purchases landing around $120 per transaction. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Cureleaf, one of the nation's top multi-state cannabis operators with 49 local dispensaries, 14 cultivation sites, and 13 processing facilities, serving up more than 165,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Swing over to cureleaf.com, spelled Curaleaf, to check out the closest Cureleaf shop to you, because there's no better way to experience the Cureleaf difference than by making a visit yourself. You'll see right away the emphasis that Cureleaf puts on customer education as well as research and development, as their three main retail lines are designed to cover the full legal cannabis spectrum, from Cureleaf Medical Marijuana through Cureleaf Hemp and Yuku Craft Cannabis. Live life well with Cureleaf. And while you're over at Cureleaf.com, you can spend some time learning about Cureleaf the stock, now traded up on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the symbol CURA. We're super happy to have Cureleaf as our exclusive multi-state cannabis operator sponsor here at MJ Today Media, and appreciate the support of everyone over at Cureleaf for helping make today's news possible. All right, time for the Blitz. The Canadian provincial government of New Brunswick has 20 government-owned dispensaries that it'd like to get rid of. New Brunswick has 20 shops under the Cannabis NB brand that it's now accepting offers on until January 10th. Applicants should have experience running legal cannabis businesses, as well as a good operating plan and enough financial capital to see it through. Additionally, the province wants entrepreneurs who will work with the local industry and First Nations to create and spread opportunity. If you're in the market for a Canadian dispensary, you should swing over to Matt Lamer's story on Marijuana Business Daily for more. Kyle Yeager over Marijuana Moments picked up on the latest Pew poll that shows that a full 67% of Americans agree that adult use marijuana should be made legal. That's a solid 2/3 of Americans, the highest mark so far in the poll's 50-year run, and 5 points up from where it was this time last year. Super solid stuff, America. Dive into the details if you need them over at Marijuana Moment. Yesterday in Illinois, lawmakers voted in favor of a bill setting up a limited social use program that would allow dispensaries and special smoke shops to offer space where customers could consume marijuana. The bill does not allow bars and restaurants the rights to do the same, as some business owners had hoped for. Adult use marijuana becomes legal in Illinois on January 1st. Canadian marijuana company the Green Organic Dutchman, or TGOD, just announced a new $103 million Canadian round of funding, with the money to come in via a sale-leaseback deal, a construction mortgage loan term sheet, and a convertible equity note term sheet. TGOD said it will use the funds to complete a processing facility under construction, in addition to greenhouses, as well as supporting its overall operations. Jesse B. Staniforth over at Leafly has a funny story up about Canadian actor and rapper Drake and his attempt to file a U.S. trademark on the marijuana warning symbol adopted by Canadian government agency Health Canada. The mark features a red stop sign with a white marijuana leaf and the text THC, and is required for all legal marijuana products in Canada. Jesse is reporting that Drake has filed a trademark on the design here in the US following an announced deal with Canopy Growth to develop a new marijuana brand. Kyle has another story with a notice of a new stamp issued by the U.S. Postal Service commemorating the failed drug use prevention programs of the 1980s, with the new design centered around a white star bordered by blue and red lines and the text "Drug-Free USA Forever." There's a lot wrapped up in that one. I'll just leave it at that. Our final story for the week is a fairly large issue that should 100% be on your general industry radar, and that's the issue of outdoor cross-pollination contamination in legal cannabis. This is a hugely important thing for us to figure out, as large outdoor commercial crops of marijuana, both industrial hemp and adult use, are vulnerable to being contaminated by nearby fields with male plants kicking off pollen. That's practically poison to marijuana farmers trying to grow all-female plants full of buds, as male pollen can sour things enough to bunk an entire field. Bart's story dives into the general storyline with some specific cases in Washington state. Give this one a read. Those are headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Cureleaf, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.